About me, I'm Shekhar Raut. I'm PMP certified since 2006. I have more than 10 years of experience in project management and program management. So let's begin today's session of webinar on Introduction to PMP. So as you can see, Edureka is a global registered education provider from Project Management Institute. So today what we are going to see is essentially how the overall things work. So we are going to see how live online classes work. So it is same as webinar that we are attending right now. Then we are going to see how the class recording get into the LMS, which is Learning Management System from Edureka. So we also provide 24/7 post-class support. So in case you have missed any session, what to do, and all those things will be answered from time to time. And in case you need any post-class support with respect to how to use LMS or any other stuff with respect to PMP, that's what we provide in 24/7 post-class support. Then we have something called module-wise quizzes. So I'll just show you in a moment the learning management system itself, in which you will see all the class recordings, module-wise class recording, then module-wise quizzes, PMP mock tests. There are 5 mock tests. That's what we are going to see. And there are in total 13 modules, and that's what we are going to see. And at the end of the course, we provide you the 35-hour contact certificate, which is mandatory for PMP examination, for appearing for PMP examination. So that's what you get at the end of this course. So live online class, as I said, essentially it is a online session as you are seeing right now. So one of the things so we already have a question from Jairam Patil. So he says, will it be recorded or loaded on YouTube later? It will be uploaded on essentially. You will be sent the link, which will be, and we upload it on our own website. So edureka.co. So you will get it from there. So let's see the LMS, how it looks. So once you sign up, this is how the your LMS, Learning Management System, looks like. Okay, so you have LMS, which has PMP mock tests. There are in total 5 PMP mock tests. Then you have recording for each of the modules. So every modules will be covered, and for all the modules will have the class recordings. And for the module, whatever presentation material we use, you can see as it is shown over here. You can use it, or you can download it at your convenient time. Yeah. So that's what we are seeing here. You can download it, class recording. You can view it. Then there is a pre-assessment question, so you can take a quiz. As I was saying sometime back, we saw just sometime back. So such 13 modules are there, and all these modules you will be able to essentially till project stakeholder management, from introduction till project stakeholder management. That's what you get here. Yeah. So that's about it. Let's move back to so this is how the overall thing works. Okay. Now coming to objectives. So today's objectives for today's webinar is first to understand what is PMI, what is the certification process for PMP examination, understanding what all things are required and how to go about it, what is the process, etc. We'll see today's session. Then we'll learn at a higher level what is PMBOK guide and what is the project, what is project life cycle, and its characteristics. So that's all we want to do in today's session. Okay. My timelines for today's session is 1.5 hours. Okay, although we have kept 2 hours in case the session gets extended, but I believe we should be able to cover the slides within 1 hour, and maybe 20-30 minutes will be spent on answering questions from your side. So if you have any questions, you can put it in the question box shown. My idea, we have after certain amount of time, I'll be essentially after half an hour around, I'll be looking into the questions and answering those. Yeah. So let's begin. About Project Management Institute. This is a not-for-profit association. It was established in 1969. It's a global organization which is headquartered in Pennsylvania, USA. Over 500,000 members are there worldwide in about 171 countries. So this is a statistics which we got some year back, or maybe 6 months back. So PMI is actively engaged in advocacy for the profession. It sets professional standards. So PMP, program management professional, portfolio management professional. So it sets all those standards. It conducts research, and it also whatever research outcome is, it provides access to that wealth of information and resources on its website called www.pmi.org, which will show it in subsequent slide. So PMI also promotes the career and professional development, and it offers certification. So PMP is one such certification. PGMP is there, program management professional certification is there, PFMP is there, portfolio management certification is there. So it also provides you opportunity for networking, and it also provides you opportunity for community involvement. So in case you want to participate in any of the PMI related developments, like let's say PMP is one you're interested in, you can contribute your knowledge, project management knowledge to the various modules, and there will be various opportunities that will be provided from time to time. But as it is not for profit association, you will have to participate voluntarily. So these are the credentials for project managers. Okay, so you can see there is certified associate in project management professional, program management professional. So portfolio management professional. What I wanted to highlight here is essentially it also provides you how to go about your development, and essentially the path is already there. So once you become project management professional, you become a project manager, you want to become a program manager, so that path is there. Then afterwards you want to become portfolio management. So a lot of time to tell you, I mean, from reporting perspective, project managers report into program managers report quite a few number of times into portfolio managers. So it provides you that path of career development. So that's where PMI Institute has very much famous for or popular for. There is Agile Certified Professional. This is the certification which is Agile Certified Practitioner, which is from PMI. This is one of the latest additions, which is finding lot many takers in today's world. Everything has become faster, and people want faster result, and Agile is one of the methodology in which people are believing in, and the PMI, it provides that kind of certification for us. Yeah. Moving on to the next slide. This is about introduction to PMP. So I just took a couple of minutes because I think there was some issue with the connection. It was there, but it was slow or something. So here we start on this slide, introduction to PMP. So project management professional, that's what our today's topic is. So PMI's project management professional credential is the most important industry recognized certification for project managers. It is one of the most popular one, which is being sought after by industry professionals. It is also globally recognized and demanded. The PMP demonstrates that you have experience, education, and competency to lead and direct projects. A lot of times it is observed that client themselves, customers, they are asking for PMP certified project managers to lead their project or direct their projects, and that's how the importance of PMP certification. So what kind of roles PMP credential holder perform as a project manager? So these are all roles for project manager essentially. You are developing project management plan, coordinating all the project related activity, execution, planning, monitoring and controlling, closing, initiating, all those activities, implementing, then finalizing projects according to specification and deadlines, keeping the project within budget or under budget, defining project objectives and schedules, essentially again ensuring that we are within schedule and we are not we are not getting delayed in delivering our project objectives in terms of deliverables and so on. Then ensuring quality control throughout the project, acquiring resources, managing teams and the consultants, assessing and minimizing project risk. There are others such as you need to do the communication, you need to do risk management, you need to perform procurement. So all these are the roles that is performed by a typical project manager, and more so for a PMP credential holder. So PMP requirements over the years, they have increased as you can see in the graph, right? From year on year, there is more and more demand for PMP certified project managers. The reason being, it provides you with common lingo, it provides you with common platform and understanding which can be extended, all over the world. And nowadays, a lot of organization, they are working for a global client and their own company is operating in different countries. So it's multinational essentially, and hence it is imperative that there should be some common lingo across various global components of the same company or various global presentation of the company, the multinational company. So hence it is seen that the PMP requirements over the year has gone up. Also the salary, I believe I can vouch for it, that salary is one of the things that we look for. So from we have this graph from National Salary Train from Indeed.com. So you can see the PMP certified project manager. Around he gets around 15 to 20, 10 to 15% minimum more than the non-PMP certified project manager. So that's the usual trend. It is being observed over the period of years. And this is a very short period which is covered, but I have been in the industry for quite long, and I can assure you that, you know, as a PMP certified project manager, you are treated well, you are respected for the knowledge that you have. Of course, I mean, just PMP certification is not sufficient. Although it sets all the basics that are required for running the project management. So what I mean is there are other qualities such as leadership and all other things which are also required. You need to be good influencer, you need to be good communicator, and all those are there. But as a PMP certified professional, you definitely have better standing in your colleagues, in top management, with customer. You get recognition, immediate recognition, and it reflects in your salary. So, looking at future of globalization, PMP is the future of globalization. As I mentioned some time back, there are many multinational companies which are operating from at least 2 or more countries. Then there are many clients which are spread over the across the globe who will be you will be interacting with. So there is essentially international network of social and economic system. You can see it's already happening, due to which there will be new opportunities and challenges that gets created for leaders and communities. So you need some kind of common ground, some kind of common platform, some kind of common lingo that you can use across all over the world. And that's where PMBOK Guide, which is widely adopted standard, is helping managers speak global project language. So that's the reason PMP is the future of globalization. So with that, we come to what is the prerequisite for your PMP certification. So we now understood that we already know, that's how we are here, I believe, that PMP certification is pretty important and it gives you edge over the others, and it also sets the right tone and expectation from your colleagues, from your top management, from your customer and suppliers and every stakeholders that you come across in a project. So what are the prerequisites for PMP certificate? So the first one, I'll say 35 contact hours. So I mean there are many, this shows the requirement or prerequisites for PMP certification. So you have 35 contact hours of education required. So when you register with Edureka, the training that we provide for 35 contact hours, and we provide the certificate saying that you have undergone through the training. So we'll see what that training contains from all the knowledge area, what are the processes, 47 processes, 10 knowledge areas, 5 process group, etc. That's what we cover in this 35 hours, and that's what we are going to, that's one of the essential mandatory prerequisite. Then you have to have, so in case you, so this is common for both, whether you have bachelor's degree or you have high school diploma. So in case of bachelor degree, you need to have 3 years of experience, so 36 plus months of experience with 4,500 hours of project management experience. So over the period of 3 years, you need 4,500 of hours of project management experience. So that's what you need in case you have bachelor's degree or its global equivalent. In case of in case you don't have bachelor's degree, in that case you need to have high school diploma. I am assuming you have high school diploma in that case, which is or associate degree or a global equivalent. In that case you need 7,500 hours of project management experience over the period of 5 years. Okay, so that's the prerequisite which is there in table in front of you, along with project management education experience, education certificate, which you get from registered education practitioners like EduWeek, like us. Then, so in here you have 3-4 points to be kept in mind. One is your project duration must not overlap. So it doesn't mean on your job it may be overlapping, but while showcasing will tell you how to showcase, so that what happens is in case of overlap there is a lot of confusion that gets created, and you usually, I'm assuming you fall in this category. So in that case, over the period of 3 years, I think showing 4,500 hours of project management experience is not a big deal. I usually start with the last point that suggests designation during specified project management work does not matter. So you may be technical lead, you may be project lead, you may be senior programmer, you may be senior, some senior person in a project which is handling some few team members, and you participate in project management activities. So what are the project management activities? We just saw some time back. You do the estimation, you do the overseeing the team members, you do the execution with team members, you do the costing, you do duration estimation, cost estimation, human resource estimation. So all the project management activities that we are going to learn in this 35 contract hours, that is what you need to do. So you need not be project manager, you need not be project lead. I myself was not having those titles when I appeared for PMP examination in 2006. So so rest assured, in case you don't have the designation that of project manager, it doesn't matter. As long as you have project management experience, you are leading the team. I was technical lead that time, so that should be sufficient. So experience in project. So sometimes what happens is maybe last 3 years is what you are looking for, but maybe in last 3 years, 2 years you are on some technical individual contributory job, but over the period of last 8 years is what you can show the experience in. So that is. Then there is something called random audit. So 20% of participants are picked up for random audit. So this is, I mean, 20% is pretty high, but nevertheless, this 20% of applications which are picked up for random audit, what happens with this is, the person for whom the audit is, let's say your application gets picked up for audit. So in that case, whatever experience you have shown, you have to prove it in terms of putting it on paper and getting seal from those companies and getting the signature of your manager. If your manager is not there, that manager's manager or someone who represent and is authorized person for that organization, you need to get that signature. So in case it goes for random audit, so it is again 20% is good possibility, but it's not pretty. It's not 80% is not there. So on this slide, there is a relevant question from Rahul Das. He asked, what are the experience certificates required? So Rahul, you don't need any experience certificate per se. I'm sorry. You just need to state the true work that you have done as a project management related work that you have done. You don't need to show any experience certificate. The number of years of project management experience should be 3 years. So I am assuming you have this much of this much plus more than this. You will have the experience in project management. So over which you have done this 4,500 of hours of work in project management. So that's all there is to you. Okay. All right. So thanks, Rahul, for the question. So PMP examination pattern. This is computer-based exam. This is conducted in Prometric centers. You have 200 multiple choice questions which are mixed randomly across process groups. So there are 5 process groups. You will learn by the time you start even attending the first session. So we are going to cover a few things in this session also. So you have 200 multiple choice question to be answered in 4 hours. Out of this, only 175 are for final marking and 25 are for pre-test question. So one of the questions that comes to my mind, do I know which 175 questions are considered for my marking? No, we don't come to know which out of 200 are the ones 175 that are considered for final marking. Because if we come to know, we'll not take these rest of the 25 questions seriously. So what are these pre-test questions? So these pre-test questions are questions which are asked in every examination to ascertain the answer to that question, how the demography of various students, how they perceive the question, how they answer the question, whether the question is confusing or those kind of things are, there is a psychometric analysis. There are specialists for that who does all that. We don't need to worry. These are not the question on which we'll get tested basically. So these are the, so whatever 175 question for which I am getting tested for final marking, these are already pre-tested on others before they are considered for final marking. So that's all there is to. So you don't need to worry about the segregation. You just need to consider you have 200 multiple choice questions to be answered in 4 hours. That's all there is to. So there is, I will come to the questions after I complete this slide. So there is no negative marking in the exam. I think this is simple, straightforward to follow. The examination is developed by a group of individuals from around the globe who hold the PMP credential. So it is certified professionals like me who develop these examination. Then after clearing the exam, you will receive the PMP certificate by mail within a couple of months. So after clearing the exam, do you come to know? Immediately. So in case you are in Prometric center, that's what 100% of the cases I have seen, you will immediately come to know whether you have passed or failed. After you pass, that is what clearing the exam, you get a certificate mail within 2 months. So you get a certificate essentially. Within 2 months, a lot of times it comes earlier than that. Within a month also it can come, but it's immaterial. You already can start claiming you are PMP certified and start using that credential. So examination scores are confidential. What does it mean? You don't come to know what your scores are out of 200 or out of 175, which is considered for final marking or your final passing. What is your score? So all those things are not provided. Instead, it is provided like, for example, examination, how you have done. There is something called process group, IPEC, initiation, planning, execution, monitoring and control. So based on that, they will tell you whether in initiation or in planning, how you are faring with vis-a-vis other participants. That's all there is to. So whether you are above average, whether you are below average, or you are average, that's what you come to know in terms of IPEC, which is 5 process groups, so which we'll cover in a short while. So coming to the questions from the audiences. So one of the question I have in front of me, I am individual contributor now, and this is question from Krishna. He says, I am a individual contributor now. I have a project lead experience of 2 years currently. I have 8 years of overall experience. So Krishna, in this 2 years of experience, I'm going back to the, I think this is on the last slide, so I'm just going back to the slides. So in this So you need to have 3 years of experience. Rather, you need to have 4,500 hours of experience. So if you can show 4,500 of hours of experience in those 2 years, you can claim, in the 3rd year, because you will be doing some activities. I'm assuming, when you have 8 years of experience, over the period of last 8 years, you must have done before a project lead. You might be, let's say, senior programmer. You may be doing reviewing others' code, and all those activities can be considered, and hence I believe as long as you can claim 4,500 hours, I think you can consider yourself for the PMP certification. Okay, Krishna? I feel you will be eligible, but based on what I have asked, you need to check yourself whether you fall in, whether you. I believe 8 years should, sufficient to, as long as you can show that 4,500 hours correctly. I think that it should do the trick for you. Yeah, Krishna. Then there is a question. Marimuthu, I'll come back to you. Before you, there is a question from Chandra, so I'm taking that. So he's asking pre-test example, please, foundation level, question mark. So pre-test examples are, questions are same as the questions, other questions, okay. Only thing is, those questions are not tested earlier. So they are getting tested on you, but you will not mark for it. Based on the psychometric analysis of that question for all the participants in the exam, that question will appear as a test question. That is 175, which can be essentially used for scoring your scoring your exam. Okay, so you will get the exam score based on that question after it passes the pre-test. So there is a question from Hi Marimuthu. She has a question. Sorry, I don't know he or she. I'm sorry. So the question is, I have 3 years of project management experience. Am I eligible for example? So yes, Marimuthu, you are eligible for exam. Yeah. I'm assuming you already have bachelor's degree. So 3 years of experience, so should be able to show those 4,500 hours in IPEC. I think you should be eligible for the examination. Yeah. So there is a question from Jyoti Mani, who is asking, I have 5 years of experience in sales and pre-sales and marketing. Am I eligible? As a part of sales and pre-sales and marketing, I believe you will be doing a lot of small projects. So it depends on how you are treating the projects, right? As a pre-sales, you bring the projects to the team, right? But when you are doing that process of bringing the project to your team, that itself can be considered as a project. So we are going to see what can be considered as a project. Okay. So I believe as long as you treat them as a projects, that is winning the contract or winning the bid, can be treated as a project because it has definite beginning, definite end. Every time it is different, and you follow certain processes. Okay. So I believe it can be considered, but you have to check from the examples that I'm going to cover. Okay. So we have risk management, which I believe you do. So as long as you can show that 4,500 hours of project work, I believe Jyoti Mani, Abraham, you should be able to consider yourself for PMP certification. I've seen many folks doing that. Yeah, rightly, I mean. So, all right. So that takes me to the next slide. I believe I have answered Chandra's question also on pre-test questions also. So they are same question as test question for final marking. Only they are used for a different purpose. your score is not considered for that, or the score that is coming out of that is not considered. So Marimuthu has next question. Logistic and storage coordinator from CRO, then project coordinator of complete 3 years. Yeah, my take is I think these are repeat questions. So as long as you have bachelor's degree and 3 years of experience, actually 4,500 hours of project management experience. So most of the times what we do, let's say as a project coordinator, you will be coordinating a lot of projects. So project coordinator is definitely a designation which goes with project management work, right? So should be fine, Marimuthu. So yeah. So good. I believe we are good to go for next question. So there are a few questions. There is one more question coming from Rahul, which we'll cover afterwards. So Rahul, you will have to wait because your question is okay. Pretty okay. Let's cover this quickly before I start on the next slide. So his question is how PMP is useful in US. I believe PMI is organization which is based out of US, Pennsylvania, right? We saw that. And a lot of, rather all the companies from US, when they do the project management, they lot of times seek for PMP certified professional. So I think this is, if you are from US, I think, or you're working in US, I think this is the most simple case wherein although PMP is used all over the world, it is used in Europe, it is used in Asia, it is used in Asia Pacific, Japan, it is used in US, is the origin of it. So definitely whether it is services company or product company, doesn't matter. It is highly useful in US, okay? All right. So that takes me to the next slide, PMP examination blueprint. So this is IPEC I was talking about. IPEC is the acronym I use. So I for initiation, P for planning, execution, controlling. So IPEC, so double C, IPE double C. So these are the domain. These are the process group, PG. So initiation, planning, execution, monitoring and controlling, and closing. And distribution of the question is like this. So you can see that planning and execution is taking most of, and monitoring for that matter is taking most of the question. Doesn't matter because once you start, I believe you will come to know the questions are a little bit of tricky, but more or less once you follow PMIism, follow PMBOK guide to the letter, it's not very difficult. It's not easy, but it's not very difficult either. All right. So what is the examination fee structure? So this is how it is. If in usually a computer-based testing is what we do, okay, and I ask people to become a member. So you become a member whose fee is 139 USD. So if you add 139 USD as a PMI membership fee, okay, and you register for exam, computer-based testing, you pay 405. You can see that the total is less than this fee for non-members. So there are two advantages. One is you save on money, right? And secondly, you get access to the resources of PMI. So you have access to, let's say, lessons learned. You have access to lessons learned template. Okay, I'm talking about templates. Mainly, a lot of templates are there. Access to videos, other material that is there with PMI. So as it is not for profit organization, it provides that access with just $139 US, and so when you decide that you want to become a PMP certified, one of the first thing, you become a PMI member. So you get access to PMBOK, you get access to other material which is very useful in PMP exam preparation. So once the let's say lecture hours are over or 35 contact hours are over, you and maybe after 2-3 weeks you start feeling comfortable, you may decide to go for after a month or two based on your schedule and how packed is your schedule. You can register yourself for computer-based testing in one of the Prometric centers available nearby you. So that's where you pay this, this fee anyway you have to pay to PMI, and they will give you the Prometric center. You have to register with that or set a date for your examination. So there is something called membership to local PMI chapters. So there are many local PMI, almost 250 PMI chapter over 70 countries are available. Okay, so for which the fee varies from USD5 to USD15. For now, this is not very mandatory for you, not very relevant to you, unless and until you want to, let's say, network with the people. So you want to network with the people and you want to attend, they conduct seminars from time to time. They meet and there are local PMI chapter will do a lot of activities which is helpful in enhancing your project management knowledge, and hence you may become a member in case you have time and energy or you want to network with the people. In a year, only 3 examination attempts are allowed in 1 year. I don't believe that this will be needed for most of you, or rather all of, I hope all of you. So in case this is for re-examination, in case you fail in a test, there is a re-examination. There is a separate fee which is less than computer-based testing, and you can be member or non-member based on that. Different fees are there. Then re-examination, paper-based, nobody goes for. So far, I have not a knowledge of even. At least I haven't, my colleagues and my circle, nobody has gone through this paper-based testing. One of the reason is it takes 1 month just to get the result. So as a professional, I think we are eager to see our results, and so this is a little inconvenient, and that's how most of us opt for. And another factor, paper-based testing, you may have to go to nearing town because the centers are less, test centers are less, and so on. So there are a couple of reasons because of which nobody opt for this. So this is the one you opt for. In case of re-examination, this is fee. 3 attempts are allowed. Certified PMP. So this is again the last one. Once you become certified PMP, for now, since we are trying to understand the PMP certification itself, what is happening is in here, certified PMP have to earn 60 PDUs in a 3-year cycle. So PDU stands for Professional Development Unit. These can be earned through multiple avenues, like the one I am doing right now. I am training. So if you are training to in your company, you can every 1 hour that you spend, you can tell that as a 1 PDU. Then as a professional, you are working in your company, that gives you 15 PDUs in a 3 years. So it is over the period of 3 years is the cycle. So idea for this is you have to keep your certification active. So every 3 years you have to show that you have invested these 60 professional development units or 60 hours in developing yourself towards project management knowledge or project management domain. And this, after this, you can essentially claim or you can keep your PMP certification active. Otherwise, after three years, it is changed. Yeah. So with that, I'm going to the next slide. All right. So criteria and guidelines mentioned may change, and you need to go to www.pmi.org for latest and additional information. Yeah. So this brings me. So if you have any questions so far, I believe I have answered most of the questions. If you have any further questions, let me know. Because right now I am getting into the PMBOK guide, in which essentially what we'll see is what is project, what is project life cycle, and few things that that are very useful or that will get us started towards what is PMP is all about. So this is how PMBOK guide is essentially a standard, and it is a distilled version of project management body of knowledge that coexist with corresponding application area knowledge. So application area knowledge is essentially the industry specific you are working with. Examples include manufacturing industry, your IT industry, then pharmaceutical, FMCG related application areas. Then general management skills. So application area is more towards a domain that we talk about. General management skills, so this is what MBA students have. So they have a good understanding of finance, they have good understanding of human resource management, they have good understanding, and they go through all those skills, right? Be it human resource management, be it organizational behavior, be it your legal, they have those subjects. So that translate into general management skills. And interpersonal skills, which is also called soft skills, so which is leading, communicating, and so on. So this PMBOK guide is essentially a standard, and it talks about, so there is a difference between standard, there is a difference between methodology. So we have Agile is a methodology, then you have Prince2 is a methodology, whereas PMBOK guide talks about the standard in general, and it encompasses all the methodologies inside it. So it's a kind of one level above all over the implementation. So these are the implementation of standard. Okay, Prince2, then your Agile, and so on. Yeah. So PMBOK guide is published by Project Management Institute. PMBOK guide edition 5 is what is going on right now. What does PMBOK guide stand for? PMBOK stands for Project Management Body of Knowledge. Oh, okay, it is already here. Sorry. So Project Management Institute publishes it every 4 years, and it takes inputs from practitioners and academics. So that's how it gets. There is a very good question from Rahul, which I'll take in a moment. Okay. So let me first cover the slide, and then I am going to the questions in a moment. So so coming to PMBOK guide, please understand it's a standard. The implementations are Agile methodology, then your Prince2 methodology, and all other, I mean, iterative, incremental, whatever methodologies are there, they are kind of implementation of the standard. So you will see the project management processes, that are inherent in all these implementation. So how it is organized? It is organized in 3 sections. These 3 sections are project management framework, that includes introduction, organizational influence, and project life cycle. These are the 2 modules. So there are 3 modules. The first 3 modules, they belong to, the first module is introduction and organizational influence and project life cycle, that constitute your project management framework. Essentially this covers the important concepts and terminology that we keep on using in subsequent modules. So these are there are 13 total modules organized into 3 sections. So the third module is the standard for project management or project management processes. So the standard for project management of a project. So it has 5 process group, 47 processes. This also gives you the mapping between the 5 process groups that I talked about initiation, planning, executing, monitoring and controlling, and closing. So as the name suggests, in initiation what we do is we do the initiation of the project. So we take inputs from various stakeholders. Who is stakeholder? Stakeholder is the one who has who gets impacted or who can impact the project. So or affected by the project, or he can affect the project. He is the stakeholder. So what are the examples of stakeholders? Stakeholders, everyone associated with the project is usually stakeholder. So customer is a stakeholder, project manager is a stakeholder, project management team is a stakeholder, project team is a stakeholder, sponsor is stakeholder, program manager is stakeholder. So whoever is associated with the project, they become stakeholder for the project. They will have various influences and power, and all those things we'll see in appropriate knowledge areas. But that's what in we identify. So initiation, we were at peer project management 5 process groups. So in initiation, what we do essentially we identify stakeholder, we create a project charter. So or develop a project charter. So this project charter will have will essentially give a birth to a project, or essentially make project authorize the project manager to conduct the project. So that's what the project charter does. So that's what we do in initiation. All the high level requirement, high level assumptions, constraints, and all those are there in SOW. We keep on seeing they are also part of get converted into project charter. And we have a couple of processes in initiation process group. Then we have planning process group. Planning processes, we conduct project, we develop project management plan. So what does project management plan consist of? We all by now know that it consists of developing schedule, developing cost, cost estimates, schedule related estimate, activity estimates, resource estimates, communication related plan. It involves almost 9 knowledge area related plans that become part of your project management plan. So it's a integrated document which keeps the plan for rest of the 9 knowledge areas that we are going to see in the 3rd section. Then execution. When we start execute, so there will be execution related processes. So there are total 47 processes, out of which 2 processes are there in your initiation process group. 24 processes are there in planning. Then execution have 8 processes. Monitoring and control have, we take C in there, right? 11 processes. And the last C stands for closing. It has 2 processes. So if you add these all together, there will be 47 processes. So we see every process will have input, tools and technique, and output. That's what we see in the 3rd section, which is project management knowledge area. So in executing, so all the execution like acquiring team, then there will be activities towards human resource acquire, developing team, executing project work, direct and managed project work, and that's what we do in 8 processes in this executing process. Then monitoring and control, this is very important. So whatever work has been done, we need to see whether it is happening as per plan, and if not, then we need to do the change request, or we have to report how we are performing. We have to extrapolate and see how the future of the project looks like, and that's what we do in monitoring and controlling. Essentially, we do quality, we do everything in monitoring and control. Then there are closing related processes, couple of processes. So in here, what we do is essentially a couple of processes: closing project or phase, and the second process is close procurement. So this is what we do as a part of IPEC, the the 5 project management process groups. So there is in this third module, this is the third module. We saw this is the first module, this is the second module. In this third module, we'll have the chart or mapping between project management process groups and knowledge areas. So we'll see the, all 47 processes will be mapped, and we'll see those when we visit this third module, the project management processes. Then we have 10 distinct knowledge areas. So you can see that the 13 modules that I was talking about, they get distributed in these 3 here and 10. So every module will have distinct knowledge area. What are the knowledge areas? So project cost management is a knowledge area. Project time management is a knowledge area. So I'll tell you quickly, project integration management, project scope management, project time management, project cost management, project quality management, project human resource management, communication management, project risk management, procurement management, and the last knowledge area is project stakeholder management. So right now you don't need to worry, but essentially all these knowledge area, they represent various processes to be performed in that knowledge area. So we'll have high level overview of how we go about doing those knowledge area. For example, if I'm going to do the project cost management, I have to do the planning of cost management, estimating of the cost, determining the budget, and essentially I have to control the cost. So there are 4 processes in that. So we see all those 4 processes when we are in project cost management. It has very interesting technique, since I talked about project cost management, called earned value management. So it is mathematical in nature. It's pretty, if you go through the example, you will come to know, how we determine the status, how we project, how the project is performing right now, and how it is going to do in future. So we'll be able to gather that question using monetary values, and essentially earned value management provides you that kind of formulas which are very essential for forecasting the future of the project, as well as seeing the current status of the project. So you have one of the interesting knowledge area we touched on. So likewise, your schedule management, you'll have critical path method, you'll have critical chain method. Various tools and techniques is what we see for all these processes that we are talking about. I think this slide is just of what we see in the whole of your project management body of knowledge, 5th edition. Every 4 years we get the new edition. So when I gave my examination, I was in 3rd edition, for example. I'm sorry. So coming to the questions from the audiences. There is a question from Himanshu. He says, what is the difference between project manager and product manager? Does PMP? Yeah, Krishna and others, I'm going one by one, okay, as per the question have come to me. So what is the difference between project manager and product manager? Does PMP provide knowledge about product manager as well? So Himanshu, difference between project manager and product manager is very obvious. The product manager manages the product. Product has bigger life cycle. There is when you get into the PMBOK guide, I give you the short answer in which you will understand that product is having bigger life cycle than the project life cycle. So product manager will initially, let's say, suppose he starts with the marketing requirement document, then product requirement document, then the project will start, maybe initiated and authorized to develop those kind of whatever is identified in marketing and product requirement that gets implemented as a part of project. Then once the execution is complete, the project is over. So we'll see, when we see the definition, of the project, you will understand it more. But for now, the short answer is project life cycle is shorter than product life cycle. Okay, so for now that should suffice. Your second question is, does PMP provide knowledge about product manager as well? So I will say product management. So we do touch base on product management, but since the name suggests, it is about project management, and whatever is required from there is some kind of boundary crossing when you talk about project management and product management. So that's what it will be covered, in a couple of pages. But it doesn't cover product management from beginning till end. Yeah. So next question I'm taking from Himanshu is okay. Anil Khan, he has a question. After taking this course, what are my chances that I pass the exam at first attempt? Very high. I will say there is very high chances that you will pass your exam in first attempt, because we'll be not only covering this PMBOK guide, so we'll be preparing. So essentially, EduReka course is towards preparing you towards PMP examination. So it's a PMP. That's how the name itself is, PMP exam preparation course. In here we cover everything. While we are teaching module, we'll be giving you, from time to time what kind of questions are going to ask. We tell you. Then we make you practice also during the classes. Then we have this module related assessment questions. So 30-40 questions will be there. You can take those which are there. That's what we suggest you do. Then there is 5 PMP mock examinations. So if you do those 5 PMP mock examination, you come to know where you stand. So unless until you are getting 75 to 80% of mark in that, you don't go for a PMP exam. So once you are crossing 75, the new exam that you are taking, I believe you are ready to, you are going to pass it in your first attempt. So far we have very high rate of, I don't have the exact number right now with me, but whatever numbers I have, it's pretty high. Okay. So there are, I will say more than 90%, 95% of the time you'll pass the exam at first attempt. I mean, there is a lot of things that get covered. Okay. So Himanshu has a relevant question, although it is asked now. Okay. His question is, what is the minimum passing percentage? So there is no such minimum passing percentage that PMI adheres to. The reason being, there are various exams which PMI asks, or PMI, there are various papers that come as a exam, okay, PMP exam, and some are very tough, some are moderately tough, and so on. So what happens is, you giving those marks for passing doesn't make sense. So that's how we say, you don't have to. Yeah, Neil, thank you for joining us. Hope to see you. So essentially, online mock exam, yes, Rahul, we have the online mass. So to answer Himanshu's question, we don't have any minimum passing. I mean, PMP examination from PMI doesn't have any passing percentage, but usually that's what I told you. If you are crossing 75% in our mock examination, so Rahul, your question is also getting answered. We have 5 mock exams. So if you are crossing 75, I believe you will pass PMP examination in the first instance. Yeah. Then going to Himanshu, please, I have. Yeah, Krishna has a question. Which says, I have PMBOK Guide 4th edition, can I use this for my exam? I will suggest, I mean, if you have used it and read it, the principles remain same. I have seen all the, there is some change between 4th edition and 5th edition, which we also cover as a part of exam. Okay, so you rest assured, Krishna, that we whatever PMBOK guide 4th edition, the principles remain same. So some processes have changed in 5th, and there is a major change that there is one knowledge, means there were 9 knowledge areas till 4th edition. In the 5th edition, that is current edition, which was published in Jan 2012, it has 10 knowledge areas. So you can use it minimally, but essentially you are, when you register for PMI and you are going for exam, you'll have to use 5th edition. Certified Scrum Master, Chandra Bangari, Chandra is asking whether Edureka is providing Scrum course also in Edureka. What I understood, although I don't cover that course is there is a agile related course that Edureka provides. So you may check with the sales, they will tell you, or on the website itself you will get it. So it's not called Scrum course, if I remember correctly, it is called Agile Agile Project Management course. Question from Rahul: is PMBOK on waterfall? No, Rahul. That's what I said. The PMBOK guide is essentially a standard. It does not advocate. Waterfall model is very old and nobody uses it right now. So we'll even see Agile being covered. We'll even see the incremental and other methodologies being covered as part. A short coverage will be there. All right, so that takes me to the next slides. So this slide is talking about the project. So project is a temporary endeavor, so which is undertaken to create a unique product, service, or result. So that's the definition of the project as per PMBOK Guide 5th edition. Now in here there are 3 key points or 3 characteristics. Essentially it is a temporary endeavor. What does temporary endeavor means? Temporary endeavor means it has definite beginning and definite end. So any work that is not ongoing, right, which doesn't have beginning or end, it goes on and on, is usually not a project, and it is ongoing effort is usually operations, right? So that's the main difference between that translates into temporary. Then the second characteristic is unique output. When I say unique output, so unique product, service, or result. So either you produce product which is unique in nature, service, or result. Now we know that all the projects produces these kind of unique product, service, or result. But now the question comes, I am a, let's say we give this example very often to understand what is unique output is all about, is what is uniqueness. So uniqueness can be location, uniqueness can be stakeholder, like customer is different and all that, some kind of customization is required and all that. So if there is a developer who is developing let's say a building in one area, in the same city if he is developing in another location similar kind of building, I'm saying similar kind of building, but location is different. So location is unique, so that is also called, the second project will also, second work that you are performing for another building is also called a project, and it's not operation, because that will also have a definite beginning and definite end. Secondly, it is, the location is unique, the stakeholders involved, like the people who are performing, the engineers could be different. So design may be same for the 2 buildings in 2 different localities, but they will have different customers, different set of guys who are actually implementing it, and so on. So the stakeholders will be different. So that makes it unique output. Okay. The third part that is associated with the project is very important, progressive elaboration. So initially you have very high level idea of what kind of work you are going to do. You have very high level scope knowledge. As the project progresses, more and more details become available. So incremental design and refinement of the initial concept towards the project plan is what progressive elaboration is all about. So initially we'll have high level requirement that gets translated into essentially the concrete requirement. Then those concrete requirements will be further elaborated and tested for boundary condition and essentially the acceptance criteria kind of thing, which will translate into the more detailed scope. And that's how there is an incremental design and refinement of what started as high level requirement to your scoping of the project. So that's what the progressive elaboration is all about. Yeah. So that takes me to the next slide of project life cycle. So what is project life cycle? It is the series of phases that a project passes through from its initiation to its closure. So all the projects, they are divided into phases, and all projects, large or small, have similar life cycle structure. So what does it mean? Project life cycle is series of phases. So there may be project which has only one phase. There may be projects that may have multiple phases. So usually complex and large project will have multiple phases. Smaller size projects could have a single phase, like for example implementation of computer software product could be a small project which will have only implementation as a single phase. So why you when the project is large and complex, why we divide it into the multiple phases is to get a better control over the project deployment or project implementation or project execution essentially. So that's how we divide the large or small projects as required into phases, but not always. Note that it may be one phase also, there could be a project which is one phase. So which example I have given. Rest of the examples, so life cycle, it helps in determining work to be completed in each phase of the project. Example here is especially in software industry, you try to do the feasibility analysis, feasibility of the project, whether the project is feasible in terms of cost, in terms of technology, etc. is done in feasibility phase of the project life cycle. Then you do the further analysis. Once the analysis, whether what are the options and all those things will be analyzed, that will lead to design. So whatever kind of features that you have come out with, you will try to design, and that will lead to implementation phase. So this is a typical project life cycle, although I will not say complete one. 3-4 phases are just shown for example. That's all there is. We'll see. So over the period of there is something called generic project life cycle, which has the first phase will be will do the initialization kind of thing, wherein you create a project charter as a deliverable. Then you plan for the work, planning the work. That could be the second phase, in which you will come out with the project management plan. Then you start executing the project work. So start completing the project work or executing the project work. That becomes a third phase, in which you get actual project deliverable like product, service, or result. And the last phase will be you will be wrapping up. Deliverables will be accepted and essentially approved, and then get transitioned to the customer. So these are the generic 4 phases. At times top management may not be aware of the all the terminology that we use in PMBOK or PMP. In that case, you can use this generic phases and which are, have very easy to understand names which can be used with while talking to your top management. So this takes me to the next slide, which essentially talks about impact of variables on project lifecycle. So over the period of time, as you can see, you have project time, then there are cost of changes that is there, okay, which goes on increasing over the period of time, over the project life cycle essentially. And degree is low at the beginning, it becomes, or essentially the impact is higher at the end of the project. So if, what does it mean? If you are getting all the requirements at this stage of the project, you identify all the stakeholders, collect all the requirements, and you analyze them at this point itself, and whatever changes are happening, they are good for the project because the cost of changes is very low at this point in time. So if you forget any of the stakeholder, let's say there is when we talk about say stakeholder, it is a person, as I explained some time back, who gets impacted or who can impact the project. And let's say right from operations management, everyone is a stakeholder who is associated with the project. So let's say you doesn't consider operations management related requirements at this point of time. So there is a change which is happening over here, which is going to be very, very costly, and hence this graph essentially tells you ensure that you identify all the requirements at the beginning phase of the project and the importance of covering all of them and getting it approved from the all important stakeholder at this point in time. So that ensures that cost of changes is minimum, and that's one of the important job of as a project manager. It is our job. Then you can see that stakeholder influence is the highest in the beginning of the project, so they can contribute a lot. So subject matter expert, architects, these are the then customer himself, your sponsor, and so on. They can influence highly at the beginning of the project. As the project progresses, the influence of the stakeholder goes low and low because most of the features are developed and essentially it goes down. So same thing is with the risk and uncertainty. Also very high at the beginning of the project. As the project progresses, on a normal project I am talking about, okay, there could be exceptions to this graph, but in general, this is how impact of variables is there on project lifecycle. So from PMP exam perspective, you may get a question directly saying, cost of changes, how it is. So there will be statements given, statement 1, 2, 3, 4, cost of changes is very high at the beginning of the project and decreases substantially over the period of time. Second line could be saying no, cost of changes is very less at the beginning of the project and it increases. So those kind of confusing or nearby statements will be there. You'll be asked to select one. So with that, I believe I have come to the end of the today's session. Okay, it was nice having you folks. So if you have any question on what we have covered so far, okay, so I'm opening the session for questions right now. So this is the time in case anything is still needed to be answered, please feel free to ask. Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Chandra. Nice having you. Shashi has a question. He says, can we get the recording of this session? Yes, Shashi, I believe we are already recording it. So the sales from Edureka, they will definitely share it with you. Yeah. Thanks, Shashi, for the question. Rahul has a question. When Edureka is starting 45 hours workshop, is it online? So, everything is online. That's what we covered, Rahul, first. That these are the online training sessions that we do. So they are similar to what we are doing right now. So it is all online. These 35 contact hours of training. I think in a month, I think there are 2 or 3 such workshops. So we have 2 or 3 faculties covering all that. I'm also one of the faculty, and I do cover appropriate batches. So you please contact sales for this. I think they will be sending you the emails after sharing the recording with you. But it is essentially, as you said correctly, it is online. Yeah. So I think if there are no more questions, I think we can close the session. Oh, okay. There is a question from Rahul. Yeah, Rahul says, and there is one more from Shashi, so I'm answering. The first one from Rahul, he says, I think PMBOK will be free if we get registered. Yes, that's very correct observation, Rahul. When you register with PMI, you get a PMBOK PDF, which is only for you. It is password protected, but as you said correctly, you get it once you register with PMI. Yeah. Then Shashi has a question. What is the main difference between Edureka and other competitors? So, I mean, what is the value add or what is unique with Edureka? I believe Edureka has mainly certified professionals who are taking these classes. It has the full end-to-end solution for passing the PMP examination. If I am going for a course, one of the things that I want to ensure is since the exam fee itself pretty good, you want to ensure that you pass in the first exam. So if you come to Edureka, we tell you all those, we not only prepare you for the exam, but also ensure that you get the sufficient confidence when you take up the exam. So we have the latest questions that are coming into the PMP examination, and all these batches, they provide us with the inputs from the question point of view. The faculty like us, we contribute our questions from over the period of experience, whatever we have gained. We give the right kind of questions for preparing you towards passing the examination. So that's what there is a lot of value add. It is happening in process, Shashi. So not only we cover PMBOK guide, but also we give you pre-assessment question. We provide you recording. You'll find these recording very useful when you are preparing for the examination from time to time, because reading PMBOK guide is pretty time consuming. So when you go through the sessions, I think it becomes very easy for you to understand, and start answering the question and practicing it. So it's a great value add that Edureka is providing you. It's a complete solution end-to-end when you want to pass the PMP examination. Thank you, Shashi, for your exact question. Question from Jyoti Mani. He says, adding to the, in addition to the previous question, how much does this USP add to the cost compared to company? You mean to say other competitors? Oh, competitors. Yeah, I got it. I got it. So, interesting question. You are talking about unique selling proposition out here, and yes, uh, this doesn't. I believe it is one of you know very cost-effective uh, cost-effective solution, considering the kind of cost that you are going to go for exam itself that Edureka provides. So it's you can see there is a 24/7 support after uh, uh, so everything is taken care of. Even when you go for preparing your form for PMP examination, that time also you get a help. You can come to PMP support, which is available 24/7, and you get answered within around within 24 hours to 48 hours, depending on I'm talking about active working hours. So you can see there is a support. There is all the material that is available. There is sessions that are getting recorded. The sessions that are getting shared. In case you miss session, you will be allowed to appear for other batches and so on. So you are taken care of from end to end during your PMP examination preparation. So I believe uh, it does add good. It is a good USP from Edureka from end-to-end perspective. I mean, the cost is should be fine compared to what end goal is always passing the PMP examination, right? And ensuring that you get all the important concepts that are there and start using it in your project itself. So which is what is you'll get. Yeah. Thanks, Jyotimani, for the question. There is a question from Kali. He says, I live in US, so how is the timing flexibility? So I think there are two batches. One is in the morning and one is in the evening over the weekend. So I think timing is the best thing that for working professional. This is planned because it is usually on Saturday, Sunday. So over 4 weeks it gets over all the classes, and there are two batches, morning and evening. Depending on your suitability, you can choose one. Yeah. Thanks, Kali, for the question. So, if I think we have a couple of minutes before we close the session. So, if there are any further questions, I'll take it now. Otherwise, I will see you guys, sooner in the classes, I believe. Thanks, Krishna. Thanks, Kali. Thanks, everyone. So there are no further questions, I believe. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Kali, Krishna, and everyone. So hope to see you guys. It is in short while, in short time from now. So again, thanking you all. Bye bye.